Many thanks for joining us on Worldview today. My name is Emedion James, coming to you live from Uyo. We begin today with NATO, where it is reported that NATO is signaling it will take steps to bolster Atlantic security as the Trump administration has claimed that threats from Russia and China are among the reasons that the U.S. government seeks to take over Greenland. NATO chief Mark Rutte has said that the defense alliance was working on next steps to protect Arctic security, as the Trump administration claims that the United States needs to seize Greenland from Denmark to ward off threats from Russia and China. Let's take a listen.
My role as Secretary General, I'm very clear. I never ever comment when there are discussions within the alliance. We have discussions between Greece and Turkey. We have had discussions between other allies. What you then will see all my predecessors do, and myself, is never comment on that in public. Let's not be naive. Even if there are not that many ships sailing at the moment, we know that with the sea lanes opening up in the high north and the Arctic, and this is not only true for Greenland, this is true for the whole Arctic area. It's not only Russia active there, it is increasingly...
NATO diplomats said there were no concrete proposal on the table, but some members have floated ideas including launching a new mission in the region. Newsman reported that U.S. President Donald Trump has rocked the 32-member defense alliance by renewing threat to take over Greenland. In the White House, Donald Trump tells business leaders in Detroit that inflation is defeated, as new economic data shows consumer prices rose 2.7% from a year ago, above the Federal Reserve 2% target this year. Speaking to reporters during a tour of a Ford automatic plant earlier, the U.S. president said a deal with Canada and Mexico is irrelevant, and he wants to build cars in U.S., not Canada.
The Iran nuclear attack, where we wiped out their nuclear, we're making America great again like never before. Now, after less than 12 months in office, this is the easiest speech to make. I have great people, and all I'm doing is spewing off what the hell we've done. Even Venezuela wasn't too bad, was it, huh? Al-Baghdadi, flawless. We did Soleimani, flawless. We did the Iran nuclear attack, where we wiped out their nuclear capacity, which would have been very bad. You wouldn't have peace in the Middle East, flawless. We did them all flawless. I want to keep it going that way, too. Now, after less than 12 months in office, I'm back in Michigan to report to you.
Trump's speech comes as the Department of Justice launches a criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. Powell has called the investigation unprecedented and says he believes it was opened due to Trump's anger over the Fed's action on interest rate. In a sad development, police said the death toll from a train derailleur following the collapse of a crane in northeastern Thailand rose to 22 today, with about 80 people injured. Local police told newsmen that there were more bodies in the wreckage that had yet to be retrieved. In Japan, Japanese Prime Minister Senator Takahashi and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung rounded off the summit meeting yesterday with an unexpected jam session, where the two played drums along to some K-pop hit. In a short video posted on the Japanese Prime Minister's office today, the two leaders played the drums to global hits from the likes of BTS and K-pop Demon Hunters.
저는 동북아 지역의 한중일 3국이 최대한 공통점을 찾아 함께 소통하며 협력해 나갈 필요가 있다는 점도 강조하였습니다. 양국은 한반도의 완전한 비핵화와 항구적 평화 구축에 대한 의지를 재확인하고 대북 정책에 있어 긴밀한 공조를 이어나가기로 하였습니다.
その上で現下の戦略環境の下、日韓間の緊密な連携を確認しました。核・ミサイル問題を含む北朝鮮への対応については、北朝鮮の完全な非核化に向け、日韓米で緊密に連携。
Takahashi, a keen drummer and face of heavy metal, complimented Lee's newfound chops. While ties between Tokyo and Seoul have often been strained in the past, Takahashi and Lee have forged a friendlier relationship, and this morning, the two also visited Horyuji's temple in Nara, Takahashi's hometown. In China announced record export numbers for 2025, a year when U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff and trade policy caused turmoil in the global economy. Beijing today reported the world's largest ever trade surplus. The value of goods and services sold overseas compared to its import at 1.19 trillion euro. It is the first time China's full-year trade surplus had passed $1 trillion, beating 2024's record figure of $993 billion. China's monthly export surpluses passed $100 billion 7 times last year, a sign that Trump's tariff campaign had barely affected its overall trade with the rest of the world. Wang Jiu, the deputy director of China's customs, said during a press conference today that the figures are extraordinary and hard-won given the profound changes and challenges in the global trade. Let's return now to the situation in Iran. The death toll from protests in Iran has reached 2,571. The US-based human rights group said today, as Islamic Republic's cleric rulers tried to quash the biggest wave of dissent in years, sparking threat of U.S. intervention. A renewed confrontation between Washington and Tehran following an Israeli and U.S. bombing campaign against Iran last year, targeting its nuclear program. They also added that this would further unsettle the Middle East, already battered by the 2-year war in Gaza. The human rights group said it had so far verified the death of 2,403 protesters, 147 government-affiliated individuals, 12 people aged under 18, and 9 non-protest civilians. Let's take a listen from the human rights director.
قطع اینترنت از زمان رخ داد یک بار امتحان کردند و نتیجه نگرفتند. یک بار دیگه امتحان بکنن. ما آماده.
We are horrified by the mounting violence directed by security forces at protesters across Iran, as reports indicate hundreds have been killed and thousands arrested. The killing of peaceful demonstrators must stop. The labeling of protesters as terrorists to justify violence against them is unacceptable. We urge the Iranian authorities to halt immediately all forms of violence and repression against peaceful protesters and to restore full access to the internet and telecommunications services.
Go ahead. I assume it's cuts,
This cycle of horrific violence cannot continue. The Iranian people and their demands for fairness, equality and justice must be heard. All killings, violence against protesters and other human rights violations must be investigated
In the meantime, US President Donald Trump has urged Iranians to keep protesting and remember the names of those abusing them, saying help is underway as Iran's clerical establishment pressed its crackdown against the biggest demonstration in years. In a video footage by Al Jazeera, Iran in turn accused Trump of encouraging political stabilization and inciting violence, also explaining why the internet was cut off.
Numbers, look, one death is too much, but I hear much lower numbers and then I hear much higher numbers, but I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. Then I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs on anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today.
میرو که یک بار امتحان کردند و نتیجه نگرفتند. یک بار دیگه امتحان بکنن، ما آماده. حتی از جنگ قبلی آماده تریم. هم به لحاظ کیفیت هم به لحاظ عملیات تروریستی آغاز شد. تا قبل از اون اینترنت قطع نبود. تا قبل از اون اعتراضات به رسمیت شناخته شده بود. دولت مشغول صحبت با معترضین بود. نمایندگانشون دعوت شدن به دولت. خود رئیس جمهور با اونها ملاقات کرد. قطع اینترنت از زمانی رخ داد که ما با عملیات تروریستی مواجه شدیم و متوجه شدیم که از خارج از کشور داره.
In the meantime, an exiled crown prince rather discussed the anti-regime protests raging in Iran, citing cases of intense violence and killings. Let's get more perspective on this. And joining me now is an international public relations analyst in the person of Mr. Idion Fonokun. Hello, sir. Good afternoon and welcome to Worldview.
Good afternoon, Medium. Good to be here once again.
Great. Okay, so let's hit the ground running. Let's talk about the protests in Iran. What do you think really triggered the current protests in Iran?
Well, you see, political resentment, is a theme in political science, and when citizens grow weary of certainty of disposition, policy, or non-pragmatism of the government, they are bound to revolt.
Yeah.
One of the main reason for the protests is economic. Now, you mean you're staying in a country where the currency exchanges for 1.4 million per dollar. It's synonymous to what happened in Zimbabwe a few years back. So the main cause of this progress is economic.
Yeah, I know the main cause of the protest is economy, but looking at the situation right now and how the protest has escalated, would we still say, or can we still say that this protest is about the economy, or we can say that it's more about politics, or or it's more about politics, or it's influenced by other forces?
The whole country is having subsidy on staple food items like rice, and then coupled with the Israeli-Iranian conflict a few months or last year, we can say that this is one of the causes. This also influenced the Iranian people to revolt against the government. Now, political resentment happens when citizens get weary of certain things that happen within the country. And it's very traditional. It is very traditional for despotic leaders or autocrats in developing countries to assume that when citizens arise to arise to protest, that they are being sponsored by by foreign government, and in this case, maybe sponsored by the United States or sponsored by Israel.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. But looking at the protests right now, how are the Iranian authority responding so far? Do you think that their response, you know, it's really good enough? Because from what we have seen in the news, we see them take out the internet. There are reports that the security personnel are allegedly shooting the protesters. How best can the Iranian authorities respond to these protests?
Well, one thing is sure. One thing is sure. The Iranian regime, the whole Iranian regime can try to postpone their burial, but then there will still be a burial. Now, it doesn't matter, starting from SWAL protests from 2009, 2019, and all of that, they have a history of repression, blackout of the internet, okay? But then the people taking on these protests, the Gen Zs and the millennials, I mean, these people do not have a memory of the 1979 revolution.
Yeah.
So they are protesting based on what they are seeing at the moment. And then whatever the government is doing, whatever repressive methods they are using,
Yeah.
it's fueling the revolution more and more. And perhaps it might turn into an insurrection.
Okay, so somehow it feels like the international community, they are very quiet on this, because I know that when Trump attacked Venezuela, literally everybody was up with headlines condemning and some, you know, appreciating the attack. But somehow I feel that the international community, they're a little bit quiet. What's your take on that? How do you think the international community is responding or reacting to these protests in Iran?
The international community per se, but I know that the United States have tweeted through their president when he said that the American people are with you. Israel have responded that, to the Iranian people that the Jews are with them. Now, President Trump tweeted the other time that if they keep shooting civilians, we will have to shoot them too. So I believe this is a human rights abuse issue. We've had reports that from various human rights organizations that there's been lots of arresting of protesters, use of live ammunition by security personnel. Be it as it may, the whole world is watching.
Be it as made, the whole world is watching. But somehow yesterday, right, Abbas Araghchi, that's the foreign minister of Iran, had an interview, and he clearly said that these protests is sponsored by foreign powers. He went as far as alleging that the US gave some dollars to some people, to some Gen Zs, to go ahead and, you know, burn down things, you know, hurt the police officers and all. Now, as an international analyst, how common are such claims in global politics?
I didn't quite get the question.
So, some Iranian officials accuse foreign powers of influencing these protests. Okay. Like I said earlier, that Abbas Araghchi, that's the foreign minister of Iran, granted an interview, and he clearly said that he has evidence that the US actually sponsored some people to go to the government office to burn down things and also attack security personnel. Now, how common are such claims in global politics?
Well, usually, assuming what the
foreign minister
said is right. It is true that foreign nations do form insurrections in other countries, but be it as it may, now autocrats, despotic leaders in developing countries like Iran, who are always quick to say that protests from citizens are usually funded by foreign powers.
Yeah.
Now, it is good to know that Iran as a country, or perhaps the Khamenei regime as a governing
Body.
institution, has not done to elevate the Iranian people, to develop the economic stance of the Iranian people. Now, for instance, the JCPOA, Iran decided to pursue a nuclear deal, that's a nuclear ammunition. And then there was this JCPOA, the Iranian nuclear deal of 2015, for Iran to dismantle its nuclear proliferation ambition.
Yeah.
And now, by 2025, Iran walked out of the deal.
Yeah.
The deal was between the P5 and Iran.
Yeah.
Last year, the US bombed most of its facilities. Israel bombed part of its facilities and took out many of its nuclear scientists.
Yes.
We cannot imagine a country which comes up to, with a slogan of "Dead to America, Dead to Israel," instead of things like "Long live the people of Iran, long live the Republic of Iran." I listened to the Supreme Leader of
Yes.
Iran a few days back. In all the sentences he made, all I could hear was the Islamic Republic, the Islamic Republic, the Islamic Republic. It made no sense.
Not at all.
So perhaps it is the right time for Iran. The United States president has made clear, telling them that he's going to bomb Iran if need be.
Yeah.
But then this could be imminent, but then it's not existential. Perhaps he's calling for Iran to negotiate.
Well, maybe he's calling for Iran to negotiate, but you know that people often say, is it day before yesterday, I listened to the White House press secretary, that's Caroline Leavitt, and she made it very clear that the U.S. will take action. Now, is a direct U.S. strike on Iran realistic, or it is more of political rhetoric? Not minding the fact that Donald Trump keeps to his words. So when he said help is on the way, what help do you think he was referring to?
Well, the current U.S. president is,
He says it and does it.
Speaks so much big mouthism, But then he has an antecedent of doing what he says.
Yeah.
Remember when he actually said that before, he actually did it, and then with Maduro and all of that. Well, we can say that, in my opinion, a U.S. strike is imminent, but be it as it may, it is not existential.
Why do you say so?
Somehow, I feel that the United States of America wants to bring Iran to a negotiating table. Remember, we had Iran was on a negotiating table with the P5 some time ago, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
And perhaps now the USA wants to have the table for itself. Remember, we always say that states act based on their interests, and it doesn't matter what they are doing. No matter, even if as US always assume global policing, it acts based on its interests.
So,
Iran is rich in oil, but yet it is not part of the G20.
If US is coming for the oil, what about the Venezuela oil? Like, that barely exhausted it, so why would they still need Iran's oil?
Can you get that again?
If the U.S. interest is the oil, what about the oil in Venezuela? I mean, they barely have exhausted those ones.
Okay, you're trying to make a comparative case between Venezuelan oil and Iranian oil.
Yeah.
Well, economics said that human wants are as scarce and unlimited. So perhaps it's the same as the wants of states, quite unlimited.
Okay, so I have two more questions before I let you go. Do you think Iran, they have the capacity to retaliate if they are attacked? Because trust me, in a speech from Ali Khamenei and also from the foreign minister of Iran, they really bragged and sounded very ready to attack the US if the US, attacks them. Do you think that Iran has the capacity to retaliate if Donald Trump decides to maybe send a B-2 bomber to Iran?
Well, it is very natural for any state entity to respond to threats of war or threats of attack from another state. That's offensive realism. Now, will Iran attack US as a retaliatory measure? Now, most of Iran's air force was decapitated by Israel. What will Iran use? Now, also, its nuclear program was destroyed by US a few months or last year. How does Iran? How do they intend to
Retaliate.
respond to a military attack by USA? It's a no question. Iran rather is having too much in its hands. The protest within its municipal politics, inflation. It doesn't have a good air force. The instrument, the radar, most of the radar that was given to it by China was destroyed by Israel. How do they intend to attack the United States? Meanwhile, this is not the first time the United States have attacked Iran. At best, is for them to use their proxies
Military bases.
and fight against the United States. Their proxies, including Hezbollah and the Houthis and all the other terrorist organizations. That's the best they can do at the moment.
Okay, I think that's all we have for you today on Worldview. But then my last question will be, do you think that so far these protests in Iran has solved any problem? Hello, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear.
So I'm asking, do you think this protest so far, some news agencies say that some protesters are beginning to return back to their homes. Do you think there was any need for this protest? On the other side, right, the protesters, do you think that their requests have been granted? And also on Ayatollah's side, do you think Ayatollah would be replaced as a leader? Like, what positive thing has come out from this protest?
Well, from what I could get from, I didn't get everything you said. I believe you asked what's the intention of the protesters or what's going to come out from
Yes.
the protest. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
asking.
now, when political, like I said, political people are tired of everything going on within their country. You cannot have a country, you cannot lead a state since 1979 after the revolution, since we took over from the former Shia and the post team. Okay, and then coming along, no developmental strides, no agenda. All you know is dead to America, dead to Israel, causing international anarchy. I mean, Iranians want to be part of the government, being rich in natural resources, but yet the country is not part of the G20. We cannot imagine a country with 1.4 million exchange rate per dollar. I mean, you can use your currency as a Christmas decoration. So Iranians want the Gen Zs and the millennials leading this protest want a reform. They want a serious reform in economics, in policies, in social welfare.
That's what I'm asking. Do you think that the Gen Zs or the millennials will get their answers after this protest? Because it feels like the process is dying down. So will it just be numbers of casualties that we'll have to remember for this protest? Or do you think after this protest, okay, fine, so far the Gen Zs have been able to get 1, 2, 3 things solved?
One of the main aims in my opinion, one of the main aims for this protest is for the supreme leader to be deposed. Now, I see the leadership of Iran as a pyramid, with Ali Khamenei being on top, and then the revolutionary, the military being on other parts of the pyramid. But then, if Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, chooses to resign, will he appoint his son? No, he will not. Why? Because when he deposed the former Shia in 1979, he stated that hereditary governance was not Islamic. So, who do we think will
Take over.
lead the hem of affairs of Iran? Is what is one of the things that the citizens, the protesting citizens, are looking at. Who will lead after Iran, after Ali Khamenei goes down? But then their main aim is to make sure that the supreme leader is removed from power, because he's the head of, he's the one introducing all the policies, from repressive policies, including those as affecting women, feminine rights.
Okay, so I mean, I wish you had enough time, but thank you so much for being a part of today's show on Worldview.
Thank you very much.
Let's wrap this up today on a judicial matter where a majority of the 9 justices on the U.S. Supreme Court appeared inclined to uphold state bans on transgender women and girls competing in female school sport. During oral argument, the court considered cases from students in 2 different states who were challenging bans on participation. Both states required public schools and college sports teams to be designated based on sex record at birth. In Idaho, a transgender college student argues the ban violates our constitutional equal rights protections. A West Virginia high school student also alleges that the state ban runs counter to federal civil rights laws. During more than 3 hours of argument, at least 5 of the justices appeared to favor upholding the bans. The court has a 6-3 consecutive majority. And that's what we have for you today on Worldview. To ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. I am Emedion James, and you've been watching Worldview on Spectrum TV. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, God's power, and God bless you.